Ah, yes, Siracusa. A country full of delicious cuisine, world-class opera, and of course, beautiful weather. It's almost an ideal place to visit or even stay, if not for the fact the country is run by mafia. These families always have their own personal interests. That often leads to their fight against each other. Ordinary civilians are also in constant fear of the mafia getting on their bad side, and your family will also be in trouble. Worse, there's almost no law enforcement in Siracusa, with civil security is mostly maintained by the mafia. But around the year 1039, to prevent Siracusa dive deeper into the chaos, a woman called Cecilia unified the 12 families of Siracusa, forming a new legislative branch called the Grey Hall, established a new legal system based on Laterano law called Guns and Order, with Signora Cecilia eventually became the head of state. She is a kind lady, but can be very ruthless if there's someone dare to challenge her ironclad law, such as what happened to a certain mafia family in Colombia. At one point during Colombia's early year, some families from Siracusa went to establish their influence in that country. And the most prominent family is the Texas under their leader Salvador, who is by the way Silenia's grandfather, who managed to unify the Colombian families and brings wealth and new technologies to Siracusa. But in year 1092, Giuseppe, Salvador's son and Silenia's father, attempted to rebel against Signora Cecilia, breaking free from Siracusa. Due to their disagreement, Giuseppe killed Salvador. But this attempt led to the Texas being annihilated by other families under Cecilia order in just one night. Texas family is gone, leaving only Silenia as the sole survivor. Witnessing her father kill her grandpa and the annihilation of her family, she feels very exhausted and just wants to break free from the family. So she made a pact with Zorro, the Wolf Lord of Siracusa, to help her. Zorro accepted and ordered the Bellone family to shelter her for the time being. And eventually Texas went to Lungman. Having met the Emperor who witnessed Texas making a deal with Zorro, he established Penguin Logistics so Texas can have a place to work and stay. But Texas still owes a debt to Zorro, so it's only a matter of time before Zorro asked for something in return. Alright, around October 1099 in Lungman, Texas wakes up from a nightmare. She gets up from her bed, only to find Zorro is already in her room. He's here to demand Texas pay her debt by going back to Siracusa to assist his fang, Bernardo, the leader of the Bellone Mafia family. Before moving on, I'll explain a little about Zorro. So, Zorro is one of the Lord of the Wolves, a pack of supernatural beasts living in the wasteland of Siracusa, who is said to represent the wilderness. The creatures like them are called by many names, but you can call them Beast Master for convenience. Beast Master are literal talking animals with supernatural power like immortality, telepathy, and some other epic stuff. Claimed to be some kind of manifestation of a certain place since time immemorial. Now back again to the Lord of the Wolves. For millennia, they have been playing some kind of battle royale, where they hunt down each other, with the last one standing deemed worthy to claim the title of the Alpha. But because they are immortal, they use human proxies known as the Fang. Each Wolf Lord will train a certain individual for this big game, and the last Fang standing will bring victory to their Wolf Lord. There's a rule that forbids involving humans other than their fangs, or interfering with human affairs, which is pretty much what Zorro will do. Anyway, back to Texas and Zorro. To cut her ties with Siracusa forever, Texas agrees to do the job. But Emperor comes in and won't let his old acquaintance take Texas. But in the end, Texas still chooses to help Zorro in order to honor her word. So both Texas and Zorro go to Siracusa, specifically the city of Volsini. Sometime later in Volsini, Sora, Eksha and Kwasang are in a restaurant. They are here looking for Texas, who hasn't contacted them ever since she left. Coincidentally, Sora's company wanted to expand their business to Siracusa, and her agent offers her a contract to perform in one of the Volsini's troupe. So Sora used this chance to gain more experience and find Texas. And now they are waiting to meet with the troupe's director. But then out of nowhere, a panicked public official barges in, with some mafia chasing him. The PL girls manages to protect him. And shortly a judge named Lavinia, who is at the same restaurant, confronts the mafia to abide by the law and not harm ordinary civilians. Seeing her, the mafia leaves the place. Lavinia thanked the group for helping the man. And shortly, Bernardo, the Bellonese boss and the troupe's director comes in. He and Lavinia know each other, but Lavinia shows animosity toward him. She later leaves with the civilian to ask him some questions. Bernardo tells the girls that Syracusan's custom is indeed quite extreme. So he advises them to adapt quickly. And here he reveals the title of the play that Sora will perform. It's titled The Death of Texas. There will be 3 acts in this play, but the author is struggling for the 3rd, which concludes the story of the Texas. Moving on, we see the Salazzo Mafia family. We see the family boss Alberto, with other family members, talking about how the Bellone has gathered much support to take over the new city. But since the Salazzo and Rossetti family haven't said anything, there's still no clear winner. Out of nowhere, Lapland comes into the room, confronting Alberto, who is apparently her father. Lappy has been kicked from the family, but she dares to go back to Syracuse with Capone and Gambino. Here we know the letter she received from before holds an invitation to meet Signora Cecilia, but she ignored it and chooses to come here because of Texas. Lappy is curious with what will Texas do, and tells Alberto Texas is currently working with the Bellonese. Curious, Alberto ordered Lappy to investigate why. Although Lappy doesn't like her father bossing her around, but since their goal is aligned she will do it. Shifting to Lavinia in court, she learned the case she was in charge with has been closed without her knowing. The case involved a possible Elite Mafia murdered a family of 5. But it seems the Mafia who is responsible for the murder had made a deal under the table with another judge to forget the case. She is disgusted by this. Lavinia knows this kind of thing is pretty much common in Syracuse, but she still wants to do what she deemed righteous. The court clerk says she and other court members admired Lavinia, but revealed that Lavinia became a judge with Bernardo backing her up. And unlike her, they don't have the support of a family or the courage. So they have to do what the Mafia told to protect their own or their loved ones. Then we see Texas again, now with Bernardo's son Leon Tuzo. She currently works as Leon's bodyguard and also waiting for other tasks. Leon gives Texas new equipment and attire, and explain what is happening in Volsini and how it related to Texas family. The collapse of the Texas Delta mortal blow to the authority of Columbia family. And those families had no choice but to return to Syracuse. They brought back Columbian technology to create the new nomadic city, as the price for gaining Cecilia's trust. And soon some part of this nomadic city will separate to form a new city. A new city is seen as a new big opportunity for Syracusan. But there has been a power struggle over which family should own it. Among others, the Bellone seems to be the one who will likely win. But other prominent families like Saluzzo and Rossetti certainly won't let them win that easily. Especially the Rossetti who brought the technology in the first place. The Rossetti was also family from Columbia and once close with the Texas. They are now becoming some sort of successor to the Texas family. So the Bellone plans to use Texas to eliminate any obstacle with her skills. And also by announcing that the last Texas is with the Bellone, they aim to reduce the possible threat from the Rossetti. There is an upcoming banquet with many important figures present. Leon wants to announce the last Texas affiliation with the Bellone there. The Bellone are also responsible to ensure the safety of all guests. And with the recent multiple assaults aimed at the city's officials, Leon wants Texas to protect Karachi, the Minister of Public Works, who responsible for the creation of the new city from any assassination attempt. So, the time for the banquet has come. We see a couple of important figures present. Among them is Wallach, the boss of the Rossity family in the city, and Rubio, the secretary of the Department of Food Safety. Meanwhile, we see Texas observing Karachi from afar, walking toward the banquet with some other bodyguards. But unexpectedly, Lappy approaches Texas. Lappy asks why Texas go back to Syracuse to assist the Bellone, and whether she will stay to be a family member again or not. Texas said she will go once her work is done. Here we know that Texas once received an order from her grandpa to stay with the Saluzzo for some time and get a feel of how Syracuse really is. During that time, Texas and Lappy develop a friend-rival relationship. But soon, their conversation is interrupted by a car bomb that was targeted at Karachi and instantly killed him. The banquet is also under attack, with Leon seems to be the assailant main target. Texas rushes in, with her and other family fighting together. They manage to prevail. But they didn't manage to capture any assailant alive. Later, after receiving the news of Karachi's death, Lavinia comes in to arrest Texas as a suspect and announce she will find Karachi's murder no matter what. While Leon suddenly falls unconscious from his wound and exhaustion. We later see him wake up in Bellone family's mansion, with his right-hand man and friend Dimitri on his side. With Karachi's death and attack at the banquet, other families begin to lose their favor in the Bellone family. And other families will soon use this chance to take over the new city. Everyone's attention is also on them after knowing the last Texas is with them. Dimitri remarks that Texas should have been their ultimate sword. But now she's in jail. Leon assures him it's best Lavinia look after Texas for the time being. He also deduces that the perpetrator of the recent attack is someone from the Bellone, since the assailant knew their exact location and how they operate. Little did he know that the perpetrator is right in front of him. Dimitri hired some people including Capone and Gambino to do the assault, for a reason we will later know. Meanwhile, we see Texas held in a cell and talking with Lavinia. Leon informed Lavinia that Texas is trustworthy, but it's better she's in jail for now. Texas is surprised that there's a judge as righteous and determined as Lavinia. Lavinia said that Karachi was a very admirable person, who strived to do good things for the common folks. He could have made the city a better place for everyone. Moving on, we see Sora rehearsing in the theater. She befriended a woman named Katerina, who is the author of this play. Afterwards, Katerina is approached by Wallach. Her real name is Giovanna Rossity, the big boss of the Rossity family. Wallach informs her about Karachi's death, and Sylvania Texas is apparently still alive and is now with the Bellone. Wallach thinks the Rossity should use Karachi's death, and Bellone losing other families' favor, as a chance to seize victory over the new city. But Giovanna doesn't want to be rash, and is more interested in Texas, so she planned to meet her former friend soon. Moving on, the PL girls stumbled upon a mafia who was tied near the park. He was the leader of the thug who attacked a public official in the restaurant. Lavinia is informed about this, and heads straight there to question the guy, believing he is affiliated with Karachi's murderer. But unfortunately, this is a trap. It's revealed that Dimitri hired Capone and Gambino to put the thug leader there to bait Lavinia, and his men will later ambush her. He sees that the power she was given by Bernardo has made her interfere too much with the mafia business, and her relationship with Leon has been making him soft. Meanwhile, Lappy meets with Capone and Gambino, who talk about everything they did after arriving in the city. Through their conversation, Lappy figures that the mastermind of this whole shebang is someone in the Bellone, and says that the thug leader that Capone and Gambino tied up will be used as bait to lure a certain diligent judge. We later see Lappy somehow made it inside Texas' cell. She informs Texas about how Lavinia is walking into a trap. So Texas decided to escape the facility and rescue our beloved judge. Then, we see Lavinia interrogating the thug leader. Lavinia knows him, He was once an admirable judge but now works as an assassin. But before Lavinia can ask much, Dimitri's men have already ambushed the place and killed the thug leader with a single arrow to the heart. Luckily Texas comes in the nick of time, beating a bunch of goons and saved Lavinia. Knowing how powerful she is, and thinks he has already shaken Lavinia, Dimitri ordered his men to retreat. Later, Leon meets with Lavinia and Texas in a restaurant. Knowing what happened to Lavinia, Leon advises her to let this case go. She doesn't want to give up until this case is solved. And until they find the culprit, Volsini is in a risk of a mafia war. Texas then suggests she pretend to become the culprit to get the situation under control and possibly lure the mastermind. Sometime later, everyone learns about Texas, who will undergo a trial for Karachi's murder. Then we see Leon confronting Dimitri. After connecting the dots, he now knows Dimitri is behind all of this. Dimitri admits doing those crimes under the order of Bernardo. They aim to bait other families into fighting against each other and lure out Signora Cecilia, overthrow her, and claim all of Syracuse for them. Later, it's time for Texas' trial, with Lavinia as the judge. Texas admits everything all according to the plan. But when Lavinia was about to raise her gavel, a truck rams into the courtroom. The driver is none other than Lappy, here to interrupt the trial, and announcing that she, Lapland Saluzzo, is the one who murdered Karachi. So with that, Lavinia suspended the trial and arrest Lappy. Lappy is detained along with Capone and Gambino, while Texas is free since there's somebody else who admits to be the culprit. But not long after, she got an invitation from Warlock. Before going, she slips a paper with her phone number into Lavinia's pocket, in case Lavinia needs help with anything. Meanwhile, we see Alberto visiting Lappy. Turns out Lappy has already made a deal with Dimitri to free Texas. But what she did has created confusion among the people, and says she's not supposed to do anything on Saluzzo's behalf, even if that is coincidentally what Alberto wanted. Lappy just reply her father with sarcasm, which makes Alberto punch her. With that, Alberto went to invite the Bellone for discussion. Shifting to Bellone's turf, Bernardo found that Leon finally knew about his plan. So he takes Leon to a place that seems to be the Grey Hall, where he introduces Zaro there, and reveal himself to be Zaro's Fang. Bernardo explains that Zaro is the only Wolf Lord that involves himself in human society. He believes that authority over man is a form of power. With his authority, Bernardo can easily order other people to track and hunt down other Fangs without getting his hand dirty. Leon asks if Zaro has been manipulating him to overthrow Cecilia, but Bernardo said everything he has done, including the plan to overthrow Cecilia, is his own idea. Then we see Texas meeting with Warlock. Warlock questioned how is she still alive and why she's in Syracuse with Bellone. Texas explained her part, which upset him. As the last of the Texas, she could have done more than just hiding. Giovanna did everything to reunite the remaining Colombian family, and reluctantly went back to Syracuse, giving away the most valuable thing, a technology to build a nomadic city. Now Texas coming out all of a sudden, working for the Bellone just to pay her debt, is seen as a great insult. Texas doesn't care. Still, she indeed owes Giovanna an explanation, as both were once a close friend. Later, Alberto meet Leon and Bernardo to discuss what they are planning. Bernardo trying to overthrow Cecilia is something that every family wanted to do. But Alberto says that what Bernardo did won't be enough to lure out Cecilia. So Bernardo suggests that he and Alberto works together to kill Giovanna. His reason is that the Rossity will do everything to claim the new city. So he planned to kill a strong competitor, and also lure out Cecilia. Meanwhile, Lavinia decided to meet Bernardo and Alberto to ask them about Karachi's murder and also learn what they will do. Lavinia also calls Texas to help clear any mafia goons trying to prevent her. But she's too late. Leon tells her that Bellone and Salazzo will work together to eliminate Giovanna. Later, Bernardo ordered Texas to kill Giovanna to fulfill her debt. While she watching the Act 2 of the death of Texas at Bernardo's troop. It won't be an easy task considering she will be heavily guarded. And Warlock is an absolute unit. So Lappy has been released from prison just to help this operation. It's time for the Act 2 of the play and the time to strike Giovanna. Which is the scene from the PV. Texas infiltrate the place as a bassist. Surprising the PL girls and also Giovanna. Lappy then start making a ruckus, signaling the start of the operation. After fighting Rossity's goons and Warlock, Texas confronts Giovanna. But all along Texas didn't really plan to kill her. After learning what Texas has been up to, Giovanna makes Texas choose to join the Rossity and stay in Syracuse, or stay with the Bellone so she can go back to Lungman. Texas chooses the latter, which makes her the enemy of Rossity. And Giovanna begins to attack with her arts. But Texas didn't fight back and instead escaped through the window. While all of this is happening, Rubio meets Bernardo, suggesting he should take Karachi's position and becoming the Bellone full-time puppet to do with whatever they want. Bernardo admires Rubio's boldness, but revealed that he was the one who killed Karachi and tells Rubio to back down. Rubio is shocked for a moment, but still insists to become the new minister. Eventually Bernardo gives in, and asks why he want that position so badly. Rubio simply said because he want power, and only Bernardo can give him that. Later, after knowing Texas didn't kill Giovanna, Bernardo orders everyone to stand down. But things are still according to his plan. Back to Texas. She's confronted by an old sancta pastor called Agonir. He is Signora Cecilia's right-hand man, saying that Cecilia is worried about her and asks Texas to stay a while. Texas refuses, which forced Agonir to use his gun to do the talking. Luckily, the PL girls comes in to help. Before things started to escalate, Extra asked Agonir to let this slide, calling it a favor from one sancta to another. Agonir just play along, and if they wish to find him. He said something that suggests he won't be found at the church, but someplace where order and law are made. The girls then went to their temporary hideout. Have some fun a little bit. Before Bernardo calls them and says he wants to meet Texas and Sora. Unlike what Sora and Texas had prepared, Bernardo tells them that they have done a great service, and now is free to go. Shortly after, Bernardo meets with Warlock. Bernardo persuades Warlock to turn his back on Giovanna and take the leadership, saying the Rossity could have achieved much more, if not for Giovanna idling all the time. And the fact Giovanna let Texas go so easily solidify that Giovanna has become too soft for a mafia boss. Warlock understand that, and so he decided to fire his boss. And unknowingly falling into Bernardo's plan. With Warlock in charge, the Rossity will be more eager to create chaos. More than 70% of the Rossity member choose to follow him. Warlock and some others confront Giovanna, who just went back from meeting Sora. Warlock demands her for the last time to make a move. But Giovanna said she believed some things had to be done in moderation, and choose to fight her own men who betrayed her. She manages to take down many henchmen, but in the end, Warlock manages to plunge his sword into her chest. After he and the others leave, Texas, who has been informed by Lappy that Giovanna might be in trouble, arrived shortly and took her to the hospital right away. At roughly the same time, Kwasang and Eksha visited the court to see Agonir. Eksha knew he is an important figure, who was once a promising young talent beside the current Laterano's Pope. But after Cecilia visit Laterano to learn their law and culture, Agonir leave with her and went to Syracuse to establish a new society and order based on Cecilia's ideal. Then the girls tell him that Texas has been in some kind of deal with the Bellone, and ask whether there's a way to get her out of this mess. Arknight tells them that Bernardo is a man of his word, so he will definitely let Texas go once our end of the deal is fulfilled. But Kwasang asks whether Texas will get a punishment from Cecilia, since what she did under Belloni's order was to rile up the godmother. Arknight says there's no absolute law created by men, suggesting there's a leeway. Moving on, we see Rubio inviting Lavinia to talk. He tells her that he will become the new Minister of Public Work, and could use someone like her as an assistant. Lavinia knew that Rubio will be controlled by the mafia, so she refuses to become his accomplice. In the end, Rubio didn't force her to work with him, but he still asks her to do a simple favor. In a few days he's going to make a speech to the whole city as a new minister, so he asks her to babysit his daughter while he gives a speech. A few days later, we see the PL girls who have taken Giovanna to the hospital. She's alive, but is currently very weak. It's also the day for Rubio to give his speech. Lavinia decided to keep his daughter company. In the room, she finds Rubio's diary. According to the kid, her father doesn't mind anyone reading it. So Lavinia read it, and is surprised with Rubio's thought on the mafia. Rubio is a close friend of Karachi and respects what he did to the city. He also admired Lavinia's ideals and sense of justice, and thinks the common folks shouldn't stand still under the mafia oppression. But he too can't say it out loud, in fear for his own life and daughter. But Rubio has been patient enough. So during his speech, with the whole city listening, instead of reading the script that the Bellone has prepared, he talks about Karachi and his struggle against the mafia families. He then reveals Bernardo and Alberto's plan to plunge the city into chaos, and sees a new nomadic city, to use it as leverage against Cecilia. Rubio wants the common folks to take action against the mafia, and do the good things for all Syracusan like what Karachi or Lavinia did, instead of easily submitting to the family, and let them wage war against each other, as the people are not powerless as they thought. Cecilia's order made ordinary people believe they are weak against the mafia, but their number alone can easily overwhelm a family controlling a city. Meanwhile, Alberto hears all of this, and sends in his trusted hitman called Dan Brown to kill Rubio. But Rubio has done saying things he wanted to say, and also makes Dan Brown realize that the people above him are just a bunch of hypocrites. Knowing this is the end, Rubio chooses to end his life with his own hand. The gunshot is heard by everyone in the city, and his daughter. Later, because of Rubio's speech, situation has gone to worst for the Bellone and Saluzzo. Everyone's eyes are on them now, with ordinary people starting to think to take action. But during this time Bernardo goes to the command tower for the new city, and tells the technician to start the separation immediately. Meanwhile, Leon remembers that his father once asked him, would Siracusa be better off without the mafia family? And it just clicks. Leon realizes that his father's true goal was to make a Siracusa without a family, by making them fight each other and then crippling their power. But first Leon meets Alberto. Alberto demands the Bellone surrender to the Saluzzo, or there will be a war between the two. Suddenly, Dan Brown comes in, but he instead points his knife at Alberto. He is tired of the uncertain peace of Siracusa, doing all the killing for them, while they sit comfortably in wealth. Seeing Dan Brown is against him, Alberto moves and slits Dan's throat. But soon they are interrupted by the sudden separation of the city, and Leon uses this chance to go and seek his father. We then see Bernardo at a church. What he did has made him lose all the power as the leader of the family, and is waiting for whatever things Zaro will do to him. Surprisingly, Bernardo is approached by Luna Cub, a girl who is the fang of another wolf lord called Anise. Luna says among other fang Bernardo is the one who deserved to die the most, because of his unusual way to win this game. But Luna Cub hesitates to kill him. She sees him as a powerless man who is now waiting for his death. Bernardo then makes some deals so Luna willing to help Leon. She agrees and then heads somewhere. Shortly, Leon comes in to confront his father. Bernardo tells Leon about when he was young, he failed to kill somebody under the family's order, and went into hiding in a village and temporarily working as a cobbler. Outside the city, the family's influence is very low, almost non-existent. He worked long enough in that place to realize that Siracusa can still live without the family. Leon agrees with some of what his father envisioned. But Leon pointed out that Bernardo is arrogant and short-sighted. He didn't think of what will happen after the family tear each other up. They might have the Siracusa without family for a bit. But the family tradition has been too deeply rooted in Siracusa. And people will certainly just recreate the family system all over again. Bernardo agrees he didn't think that far and is amazed by his son. And asks him what will he do next. Leon says he will find Lavinia and some others to create a non-family coalition. And seize control of the new city command tower. That way he will have the advantage. But it all depends on Cecilia, and he aims to negotiate his ideas with her. After Leon leaves, it's time for Agonir to confront Bernardo. What Bernardo did has broken Cecilia's rule, and here to end him. But says Leon's solution is interesting. So far Cecilia never allowed anyone to interrupt her order. Because no one came up with a solution that could satisfy her. Maybe this time, Cecilia will give him a chance. But their conversation cut short with now Zaro is approaching. So Agonir leaves to meet someone else. Zaro confronts Bernardo. But before he can use his power to control him, Bernardo is revealed to have ingested a poison. And shortly he dies, free from burden or anyone's control. Zaro is enraged because Bernardo dies and losing the wolves game. And so he aims to kill Leon for what his father had done. When all of this is happening, Signora Cecilia has come to the city. She knows everything to the little details. And sends her agents to warn the families that make ruckus about her presence. She then meets someone called Ben. A very mysterious man who appears quite a lot in the story. And someone who calls Dan Brown a friend and took his body somewhere. He seems to know Cecilia well. And Cecilia asks what he thinks about Leon and his goal. He says he doesn't know, but right now they are watching the birth of a new era. Moving on, moved by Rubio's speech, Lavinia gathered trustworthy people to take action. They need to secure the new city through its command tower. And use it to negotiate with Cecilia, or jockeying for power with the families. Eksha and Texas also decided to help them out. Previously, Lappy asked Texas why she wanted to be involved again. Texas could just sit this one out and then go back to Lungman. But Texas has gotten really angry and can't just stand still. After Rubio, who wanted to change the country for the better, ended his life in such a way. So she wants to help those people who share the same ideal as Rubio. Texas also tells Lapland how long she's going to be on her family's leash. If she wanted to leave the family, it's not something complicated. Hearing what she said, Lappy realized something and gets excited. Lappy confronts her father, where she says the reason for her disobedience is because she doesn't like how the family has always chaining her down. And why she's obsessed with Texas is because Texas can leave her family in Siracusa just like that. Now whatever Texas does is all because of her own choice. Lappy always thinks she needs to rebel enough or kill her father to stop the family from chaining her. But she realizes it's simple, all she needs to do is just leave everything behind. And says she will destroy all Syracusan family with her own way. Alberto thinks this is the perfect time to kill Lappy, to avoid her giving him more trouble in the future. But he didn't do it, because no matter what she's still his daughter. Moving on, Lavinia's group manages to take the command tower first. Shortly, Leon comes in to assist. But at the same time Dimitri and Warlock join hands to take control. Texas takes care of Warlock and his goons, while Dimitri and his men appear and question which side Leon is on. Leon chooses to abandon the Bellone and stand beside Lavinia's group. But as they are about to fight, something is approaching. It's Zorro, here to kill Leon, and everyone stand in his way after Bernardo's death. Everyone then works together to fight the wolf, with Texas, Lappy and Luna Cub joining in. Shortly, Emperor comes in with other wolves to fight Zorro. They are the wolves whose Fang has already lost, and here to make Zorro pay for involving so many other humans in their game. Although they are immortal, the wolves got a way to torment each other. Knowing he doesn't stand a chance with so many of his siblings, Zorro chooses to back down and head somewhere. Texas thanks Emperor for his help, but he said they should thank Cecilia instead. She's the one who entrusted him with the task. Everyone went quiet with her presence, but Leon speaks up to ask Cecilia to give him a chance to talk about their ideals. Cecilia agrees and tells them to meet her in the Grey Hall, but Lavinia asks for a moment to see Bernardo for the last time. While Texas and Lappy take a walk to the nearby park, and like what all good friends do, they both fight against each other to the death. Lappy sees this as another act to end her ties with Syracuse forever. In the end Lappy wins, but seeing the determination in Texas' eyes to live, Lappy decided to not kill her. And as a friend, Lappy extends her hand to help Texas get up, and both walk to meet Cecilia together. Moments later everyone gather. Leon explains his view on Syracuse without family to Cecilia. He believes it is now the time for Syracuse to change for the better. So Leon asks Cecilia if he can borrow the new city, make it a place with no family involvement, and proved his point. Cecilia questions whether Leon can guarantee the new city, or even one day the whole Syracuse will become a better place with no family. Leon said he can't guarantee, but in the future if someone comes to him looking to change his ways, he's willing to sit down and hear him out. Just like what Cecilia do right now. Cecilia smiles and eventually agree to lend the new city, to see what kind of change Leon and Lavinia make. Cecilia also promises Texas that Syracuse won't disturb her again. And on Texas' request, Cecilia will spare Giovanna and other Rossity. While for Lappy, even though she said she will destroy the current system, in a more uncivilized way, Cecilia let her be to see what she will do. In the aftermath, the PL girls found out Giovanna has recovered, but she went somewhere, and seems already choosing to become a full-time playwright, and leaves the finished script of Act 3 of The Death of Texas as a parting gift. The story shifts to Ludmilla, better known as Crown Slayer. After a union disbanded, she head to Syracuse to see her teacher. But when she arrived, she finds that her teacher has been killed. The killer is none other than Project Red. Here we know that Ludmilla's teacher was a Fang, the same as Red. And Red has been hunting down other Fang under the Grandmother's order. Presumably Red's wolf lord. Anyway, seeing this scene, Ludmilla attacks Red for revenge. But Red didn't fight and instead escape, saying Kelsey told her to only kill those affiliated with the wolf. Moving on, we see Leon burying his father alone in the middle of rain. Dimitri comes in to help Leon bury his father's coffin. Before he leave, Dimitri said the Bellone is now disbanded, and he planned to organize a new family. So there will come a day when they have to face each other. Later, we see the people are eager to see the new city without family. And Leon with Lavinia are preparing to move to the new city. Soon Leon will become a mayoral candidate for the new city. Both promise to bring a new and better order that Syracuse has never seen. The story shifts to Lappy and Zorro. After leaving Volsini, Lappy encountered Zorro in the wilderness, who is searching for a new Fang candidate. Both surprisingly fought each other non-stop for 3 months. Eventually Zorro starting to like and respect Lappy, he decided to give up fighting, and said he's willing to walk with her. Lappy just say whatever and falls because of exhaustion. Zaro helps her up and both wander someplace else. Well, that's all the story of the Il Siracusano event. That should be all. Arrivederci.